this week's video, I'm going to show all of you how to create a test tube setup. Now, in the background, I will be moving my Formica Fusca colony into a tubs and tubes setup. Now, this is the same Formica Fusca colony I updated you guys on a few months ago, and as you can tell, there are a lot less workers now. So, if you want to get straight to the tutorial, then skip to whatever number appears on screen, and for those of you who care about what happened to the Formica Fusca colony, I will tell you about that now. So, what happened is, one night I fed them a grasshopper that was a bit cut up, and it was still a bit alive and moving, and I didn't realize that it crawled into the nest, and what's so bad about that is that the Formica ants are known for their toxic sprays to try to kill it. And basically they contaminated their own nest and by spraying it. So a couple days later I checked up on them again and half the workers were dead. Both the queens are still alive, so I ended up moving them pronto into a test tube. So this is a lesson that I learned. I need to not feed them live prey, and if I do feed them live prey, I need to make sure that it can't go in the nest. Alright, so with that out of the way, let's get on to the test tube setup. So here what I'm doing is plugging up the entrance of this Ants Australia Outworld that I'm going to be using as a test tube setup. Now the reason why I use this is because it has a nice lid that I can slide on and off, and also it has a little port later that I can connect an actual nest to for when the colony gets too big. But you can use any container, like for instance, you can use like a plastic container at the dollar store, which would work. Just make sure that you put on some sort of barrier like Fluon or like talcum powder, olive oil, something like that. The next thing you're going to want to do is to fill the bottom of the container with some substrate. Now, it doesn't really matter what substrate you use as long as it's not actual dirt, because if you want them to nest in the test tube, then you should use something like sand that they cannot dig into. And if you do end up using dirt, which I don't recommend, then make sure you don't water the dirt, or else they will definitely try to nest into it. Another important thing to do is to make sure that you cover the test tube with some dirt, and then once the colony grows out of their current test tube, you add another one and do the same thing until the test tube, basically until the outworld is full, or you have a nest to move them into. As for heating, I'm not going to be using any for this specific setup, mainly just because winter is approaching and I want them to go into a healthy diapause. Now, speaking of that, I am at around almost 900 subscribers now. If I could get out my 1,000 subscriber special before ants go into hibernation, that would be awesome. So if you enjoy the video, then please subscribe, that would help me out a lot. A tubs and tubes setup is a great alternative for if you want to not get a nest for your colony, or if you don't have the funds to get a nest, or the shipping's too high of a cost or something like that. Then the tubs and tubes setup is definitely the best way to go, because it's a very effective way of starting out a colony. But eventually you're going to have to get a nest, or just expand the test tube setup as the colony gets bigger. That's basically it for the test tube setup. Now if you want to see my colony getting used to their new environment, then here's a small time lapse. If not, you can click off the video. Thanks for watching.